Well, hello again. You have just come on to Heavy Revy TV. I'm your host, Brian Christian, and I'm here to share with you some revelation tonight, and I'm pretty excited. It's amazing how we can walk through things in life that we're uh, not necessarily excited about, but those become the places where we get some of the deepest revelations. And so please share this video with people that are going through extreme shifts in their life. Excuse me. All of a sudden, I need to sneeze as soon as I go live. Isn't that kind of funny? But I'm glad to be here, and I'm pretty excited. I got some fresh revelation for you tonight, and if I look like a biker, it's only because I don't have any more hats right now, and I'm trying to grow some hair. So we're going to see. Right now, it's in one of those stages where I look weird. So I'm not going without a cap until I got some hair growing in. And at my wife's request, I'm going to say this on every video, at my wife's request. She just must not like bald guys, right? Uh, but it's good to see everybody. I can't see any comments, so don't forget to comment and say hi so I know who's on here. But I want to talk today about, or this evening, um, about some extremes when we're dealing with body, soul, and spirit, especially in this time and age in which myself included and many others are speaking about the eternal, about oneness, about everything being, an experience of your mind, about the visible and the physical realm being an illusion. And how far do we go with this? And what do we do with it? Okay. And I think this is probably one of the big questions when it comes to a lot of people that are resisting it, that think it's new age, that thinks it's of the devil if they're a charismatic Christian, uh, and they're scared of it. And so tonight, I hope to try to simplify and break down. I won't go into a lot of detail on each aspect of body, soul, and spirit, but I want to give you an overview tonight of what are we responsible for and how do we balance this? How do we ascend without ascending? And I know that might sound kind of weird to some because I think we've all experienced different times in our life where we were desperate. We wanted out of what we were in. We had deemed what we were in not good. And so we looked for every possible spiritual method out of our current situation. And I know for me, many of those methods worked for a time. Some of them didn't. Uh, one of those methods that didn't work was, who was it? I can't remember the preacher. I think it was Mike Murdoch, and real rich dude, because he tells everybody to give large amounts of money and it all goes into his pocket. He seems to be the only one prospering in his meetings, but he gets up and says, you can prosper too if you'll sow tonight. And I remember doing the house payment thing. If you'll sow, give a whole house payment, 1 month's house payment, your house will be paid off in a year. So I did that. I think it was $1,700 at the time when I had a house in Silicon Valley. And a year later, I was $250,000 more in debt on my house. I had to take out a second mortgage. I almost wanted to sue the guy, to be perfectly honest, just for the fact that, when you're on a platform like that and you have that amount of influence, you can really influence people, and people that are, maybe ignorant of what's really going on, don't know they're getting gypped, they're going to fall for it. And for me, I fell for the prosperity gospel. So thousands and thousands of dollars, never saw a cent. And anytime I would work hard to see money come in, I'd always give credit to the prosperity uh, doctrine there, and that I did that. And it was all because I didn't want to feel like an idiot. Now, was I conscious of that? No, but my triggers were. The lies I'd believed about myself back here were promoting me to justify why all of this is God, and I think we do that. But, there have been other areas, you know, uh, for some people it's been healings. Why did 50 people get healed in a miracle meeting, but 30 of them didn't, and well, the preacher would say, well, you didn't have faith, or there was a sin in your life, or, they started to get a little bit better with, well, there's a timing. Okay. But I think sometimes we're always looking for an absolute answer because somehow we look stupid if we don't have one. And I want to say, I don't have the answers. I do not have the answers tonight. I have my opinions and I have my experiences. And that's what anybody and everybody has, including everybody that wrote in the Bible their story. They have their opinions and they have their experiences. And I think we have to get to the point to where we're not finding ourselves stuck in just swapping what we've already done. Back in the day, it would be if something bad happened, you needed to fast and pray to get God to move. Okay. All right. So what does that tell you about your God? It tells you that you have a God that isn't attentive, that isn't present, that doesn't already know what's going on, and needs to be talked into being God. Okay. That's what that tells me. Now, what does it do for me in the placebo effect when I break through in intercession and crying out and fasting? I'm talking in a spiritual sense. Fasting is great for the physical body. Okay. What does it do for you in that sense? Well, if you believe it'll do something for you, it will at least distract you away from what you were entangled in for the moment, and you will feel a sense of breakthrough, clarity, especially if God answers. But really what it's doing is, on the positive side, is bringing you into an awareness of expectation. And that awareness of expectation is what is actually breaking out of the kingdom within you, that which has always been, that which you've already had, and is now manifesting as God answering prayer now. And so, hey, Graylin, good to see you. Hey, Geraldine, good to see you. Finally, a couple people said hi to me. Everybody's quiet on here tonight. You must be making dinner or vacuuming or doing something while you're listening. But it's good to see you. And so, we have to start to look at the why behind the what, because some methodology has worked for some, but not for others. And when I say methodology, I'm saying spiritual steps, postures, and so on and so forth. And there's a big thing, and I used to teach this and preach this as well, and I think there's a place for it. I really do. I do think there is a place. Good to see you, Donna. Diana, bless you. I think there is a place for some of these things because especially, and let me talk about ascending for a minute before I get into body, soul, and spirit, because I'm setting the stage here of why this is important to talk about. All right. So we need to ascend. That's the goal, to ascend. So we've got to ascend. We've got to wake up. We've got to become spiritual. We've got to renew the mind. And there is a truth in all of those things. We don't want to just be passive idiots in denial, just moping around with no direction. And I get that. Okay. But yet at the same time, why do we need to ascend? And what are we viewing as the conclusion of who we are and who we're not, that is either driving us or inspiring us to get somewhere in God? And do we need to get somewhere? And I think there are seasons and times in which there are different emphasis, different things being emphasized, in which the Father is taking us on a journey. And so that's all good. But when you look at ascension from another side, and I'm gonna do this not to get you to question your need to ascend, because to me ascension is just simply becoming conscious, waking up. But there are many out there that are trying to they're either going to the courtrooms of heaven, or they're doing just or breathing, or they're, and again, nothing wrong with breathing, nothing wrong with the placebo effects that we do. But once we get entangled in them and we take our methodology and we begin to proclaim it as the absolute, or this is the only way you can get it, and people that are desperate and they believe you, now they're entangled, and now you've just created a religion, because it doesn't always work for everybody. I know plenty of techniques out there that I've tried that didn't do squat for me. And then I found other ones that did. And the ones that did, guess what I wanted to do? I want to go out and tell everybody you need to do this. and then everybody jumps on that bandwagon, and then guess what happens? It works a little bit, and then it doesn't. And then it also spreads all kinds of resistance of where it doesn't. And so there's fruit coming on all sides that can cause competition, division, jealousy, if one got it and the other didn't. So how do we kind of find the balance here? Because there's a side that says, yes, I need to ascend, I need to wake up. But there's another side of that in which what's motivating me to ascend is because I despise my humanity. I despise where I'm at in my life. And now my ascension is to escape the very thing that divinity designed to express at a deeper level than the invisibility of divinity could manifest. And I totally believe that. I believe the fullness of the Godhead is in bodily form. I believe we are experiencing a human experience because we were supposed to. And I think sometimes we can take any truth and make it an escapism. And when it goes extreme, it might help some, but it's going to harm others, and it's going to create tension amongst people that are either on one side or the other. And so my heart and goal is to find the balance in which we can glean from things from season to season. There's a season for everything under the heavens, and then finally kind of not get caught up or entangled in it as in an absolute. I did a post on my recent situation where I am a walking contradiction right now. And when you're a walking contradiction where everything you believe the opposite is manifesting in your life, the last thing you want to do is continue to speak the truth of what you've been believing when the opposite is happening in your life, because you feel like an imposter, or you feel like a hypocrite, or you just don't want to deal with people who do think that about you. Okay. And so, it can be difficult. So the key here is reading between the lines. When you're in a situation where you're standing on one truth, you're manifesting, and all of a sudden, all the opposite happens. Do you throw out the truth you once knew, or do you integrate it into the present season that's being emphasized? It might not have anything to do with coming against that truth, or it might be trying to balance a truth that you've gone absolute or extreme on. Okay. And so I did a post, and I'm not going to read the whole post because it's long. And I said, each revelation in truth is but one ingredient that blends together with other truths. Okay. And I'm starting to come out. It was kind of like my public apology for going too extreme in one area in which I'm balancing out in another. Okay. And I think it's important that as we balance out, we're going to take a lot of pressure off of ourselves. How many would like to let go of the false responsibility of when you heard a word that witnessed to you and it broke you out of one area of religion, and then when you tried to put it on, you strived to put it on and watched everybody around you getting blessed. It was working for them, but it ain't working for you. And you immediately begin to self-condemn and go, what's wrong with me? Or you want to just throw it out. That ain't God. And so we go to these extremes that we put all these burdens on ourselves to try to do something, to be something. And if we didn't hear it right, we weren't discerning right, we're not spiritual enough. Let's break that mentality, because that frustrates grace, right? Hey, Graylin, are you still on here? Say hi again if you're still on here, Graylin. Graylin Burnham. Shakalaka. Burnham. Barbecue Burnham, or is it Burnham? I don't want to pronounce it right. Graylin. You still on here, Graylin? Good to see you, Anthony. Good to see my sister Constance on here, biological sister. I call her Connie. Graylin, you still on here? Shikaladadababa. Thank you, Father. I don't know if you're still on here, so I'm hoping you're on here. I'm just gonna release it. I don't know what's happened in the last week for you, Graylin, but you've just transitioned into a whole new season, and you're getting ready to come up. This is the time of promotion. Many things are going to begin to come together where they weren't coming together. And I just see missing pieces of the puzzle just bringing forth. It's almost like two pieces were left, one corner and one right in the middle. I don't know what that means, but whatever has been in your corner and whatever has been in the center of your life is finally coming into focus. And you're going to see the whole panoramic view, and it's going to solidify some things in your life that is going to unlock other things where you've been too distracted with the things you've been waiting to be solidified, that you haven't been able to see the new thing that the Father is revealing to you in this season. It's there, you sense it, something fresh, something new, but there hasn't come clarity. The clarity is coming. Everything is beginning. I keep seeing this like binoculars, and they're coming into focus. And so I feel like you're coming into focus, you're coming into new inspiration, you're coming into an acceleration. So you're going to begin to pick up speed. Things are going to get easier. Answers are going to come. And the Father says, just jump out with the few steps you have and just watch, because all the puzzle pieces are coming together. So I wanted to release that word to you, Graylin. Hopefully you heard that word. And I just release that. I just bless you. Glory, glory, glory. All right. So I want to read you this, which I lost again because my phone timed out. What I wrote here on Facebook 2 days ago that I believe you'll find encouraging. Okay. And this is what I said here. I said, let's see. Now I got to find it. All right. I talked about denial. I said, I think our reliance on miracles or spiritual absolutes is hiding other issues we don't want to face. Wherever, oh, good, Graylin, you were on there. Amen. Hopefully that witness, does that witness to you, Graylin? Shaka bam bam. I saw a yes and a wowzers. So that wowzers is good. I also see you working with people with infirmities. I don't know what you do, but I see infirmities, and I see you coming up with keys to help shift people into endurance, into focus, into goals, and into wholeness. Wholeness even at a biological level, wholeness even through natural things, and through the spirit. So you're carrying that, almost similar to this message tonight. I think that's what drew you, is the body, soul, and spirit message, because you're carrying a vision for the whole man. Okay. And I feel like some of that is part of what I said earlier. And so I see you actually with your own practice, with your own building, with your own area, and you're doing all these different types of sessions. And I see all of that happening. Okay. And so it's the puzzles coming together. So just after the video, rewind if you missed the other part, because I don't even remember what I said. But it was good. It was good. Amen. Thank you, Stephen. Bless you, my brother. All right. So our reliance on miracles or spiritual absolutes is hiding other issues we don't want to face, like being accountable at a human level. Denial in one area will present itself as an absolute in another area. We overcompensate when we are out of balance. Okay. And so I want you to understand this. Wherever we live in our absolutes and we can't hear anything else, somewhere there's a part of us that we are denying because we don't want to hear that part of us that looks ugly to us, that didn't measure up to us. Okay. So, you know me, I'm going to talk about emotional belief, triggers, perception, historical woundedness that is heavily influencing our current experience with God, our current need to experience God, our current need to ascend, and our current need for absolutes. And if you've heard anything I've ever taught, ultimately, I will constantly believe this. Yes, we are spirit gazing into a human experience. Yes, you cannot prove that the physical, visible realm you are living in is actually reality. You can't even prove it's physical. You are having an experience in your mind, and that is true. The body and the mind in and of itself is also cannot be proven to be actually real, but we are really experiencing it at some level. And spirit is expressing in the form or expressing through a mind in a body. And so we can say that that is there. So from an eternal level, yes, you are a God thought that's already been lived out, that's being reminisced in an eternal now. And do we need that? Yes, we do. Why do we need that? Because that is the core that releases the fact that I don't need to do something to be something, and I am complete. And in that completeness, lacking nothing, I can now read between the lines in other areas to where I don't become entangled and find my identity stuck in the scorecard, in what others want to label me, in what my circumstances are trying to throw at me. And so we need that. But if we get stuck only in the eternal as the only revelation in our life, we will do it because we're trying to escape our humanity. We will do it because we're trying to deny something that we don't actually believe is good in our life. And therefore, we need to do this to get here. And I think that if we can be aware of how much resistance there is in us when we try to let that go, just be aware of that. Okay. Can you be aware of letting go of the need to change anything in your life that you think is interrupting who you are? And I don't mean a self-justification where whether we have an addiction or we're just being a jerk to people and we're like, yeah, I'm going to let go of changing myself in that area. No, that's more of a justification. I'm talking about things that you really don't like, you really want out of, things you can't control, things that are operating your life opposite of everything you believed. I'll give you my experience, okay? I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's autoimmune disease in 2020. So for most of my life, I could eat whatever I want, do whatever I want, unlimited energy, ministering 12 to 14 hours a day, loving it, you know. And even when we launched out in 2018, traveling everywhere, tons of energy. I could live off anything and be fine, but I ate a lot of junk. Okay. But I also didn't believe that any food had any effect on me because I'm spirit. You see, it's like, it's not what goes into a man that defiles him, but what comes out of his heart. So that was my justification for eating junk, all of these things. Okay. Now I believe that wholeness is reality and sickness is an illusion. Disease is an illusion. It's dis-ease. It's coming from a perception, right? It's perception based. And so I've believed that, and I do still believe that. According to the emphasis degrees of what is being emphasized and the season it's being emphasized in. Okay. But there are other levels of things that are going on. There are other things going on. And what happens when your theology has no evidence? Okay. Do you let go of it completely? And I don't think we should. I don't think we should throw anything out. I think we should find the sweet spot in what is being emphasized and balance it out so we can utilize all the keys that we have. Okay, all the keys, right? And so, when I got diagnosed, I had just come into the revelation of we are completely, wholeness is our reality. So I'd really come the deepest as I had ever come into it. It was all fresh and new. I'd already been in the eternal for a long time and in levels of quantum, but it was still in the place of obtaining or having dominion in the earth and having to do something, to be something, to get something. And so when I finally kind of graduated into we are complete, where wholeness is unveiling in us, your faith has made you whole, your faith, so that which is in you has already healed you. Jesus said to them, but they were looking to Jesus. They needed a man because they didn't believe they were complete. They weren't conscious of it. And idolatry was the thing of the day. And well, the thing of pretty much most of the journey of Israel. And so, of course, Jesus became the placebo effect in which he used their faith directed at him to get them to realize what was already in them and that they were already whole. But because he said it, they could now become conscious of it and begin to manifest it. And so there is a truth there. Okay? There is a truth to that. Now, here's my question. Since disease is a dis-ease, and it is only a construct of the mind, why, when somebody says they have it, why do people that believe it doesn't exist try to convince them they don't? Because if it doesn't exist, it really doesn't matter if they believe it, right? Because it doesn't exist. So why do we have to get them out of a belief of something we already believe doesn't exist? And this is where the question mark comes in. What is lacking in my life that I have denied that I have gone into an opposite absolute out of balance. I've gone into an extreme. Okay. All right. So again, I am totally for spirit, slowed down to visibility. That is my main message. So this for me isn't easy. Okay. But at the same time, we said yes to a human experience. Wisdom built her house. So that which eternity already established is being lived out in a timeline human experience. And so because of that, we designed it. We said yes to it. We didn't say yes to, descending just so we could escape the descent and ascend. We're already ascended. You don't need to ascend. You've been seated in the same place the entire time, which is everywhere and nowhere, because there is no time, space, or matter. That's the eternal. Okay. But yet I chose to put on a simulation, put on a video game, and I designed it with specific rules. One of the rules is anytime I'm not operating in my true identity, everything around me is going to resist me because it's resisting who I'm not to manifest who I am. Okay, that's one of the uh, spiritual laws that manifest through natural situations. But just because somebody else is mirroring rejection at me, I might not be dealing with rejection. Remember, we use the mirror effect. Hey, if somebody else is judging you, that's sure, they're getting a revelation of their own blind spot. But what are you on the receiving end here? If you've got rejection, you benefit from it. Go, okay, that's a mirror showing me what I need to. My rejection is being rejected by the outward mirror. So now I got to deal with my inward mirror, and I've got to go in, and I've got to focus, and I've got to allow that situation to be utilized to now shift my mindset, to wake me up into another way, to renew my mind, to deal with my trigger. Okay. But then there are times where other people are just rejecting you because they're self-rejected, and you don't have rejection because we're quantumly entangled. So we have multiple sides and multiple levels in that area. So in the eternal, I need to remember that which is complete, so I don't despise that which looks contradictory in my human experience. If I deny my human experience as at any level of reality, and it's just all an illusion, point blank, I am in denial of the reason I was sent, and everything I hold on to in the eternal will now actually deceive me, make me delusional, and put me into a place of really fruitlessness. Okay. So now I'm going to have to maintain my eternity by now doing works in that fashion, by using all these tools and methodologies to ascend and to meditate for 10 years at a time, whatever it is, right? I might be being a little extreme on what I'm saying, but you get the point. All right. So the eternal is just the place of being able to rest, that I don't need to be in a false expectation. All of this has already been worked out for me. I'm just on a treasure hunt looking for, uh, you know, the manifestation of what my mind needs to see to connect the dots. And so what that does, it puts you in a place of rest to where you're not distracted with false expectations to measure up. It gets rid of performance. That's the completed work. Okay. Um, but with emotions, dealing with emotions is going to come. You can't deal with your emotions. I'm sorry to say, you don't get to decide cognitively, I think I'm going to deal with my emotions today. It doesn't work that way. It only works when there's been enough situations that has surfaced the subconscious beliefs that you're not conscious of. So anything you go after intellectually is not going to hit the mark. It's going to miss the mark because your intellect is not reliable for spotting emotional belief or being honest with you on emotional belief, since it has been supporting the wrong emotional belief and protecting it and justifying it your entire life. So we can't do that. So we can't just decide, mechanically, I'm going to heal my past now. No, but what we can do is we can allow situations to arise that push the right button, that triggers the right thing, that now pinpoints what's ready to be revealed, what's ready to be shifted. And so now we're not using necessarily this planned procedure on a daily basis to not slip back into anything. We're walking in a maintenance-free embrace to take our thoughts captive at an emotional level, and we are doing what? We're transmuting the lies we believed about ourselves. That is now turning into present proofs of goodness, grace, and glory that unveils our story even more, right? I love you too, Ty. Bless you. And and so are you seeing kind of the different sides of this? But if we despise one thing and become extreme in another, we're missing out on the whole point of our humanity. And I think our humanity carries more expression than divinity outside of it, because divinity and eternity is the sameness of God that changes not. That's what the infinite is connected to. It's God like this. No, your screen did not freeze. It's God like this. He changes not. His expression can never change for his consistency to remain. And finite is connected to the definition of constantly expressing and changing and moving. Now, if you have the finite without the character sameness of nature, then you're up and down like a yo-yo being tossed to and fro by the sea. Double-mindedness, okay? You're in indecision. You can't make a decision. You're making rash decisions, whatever it is. But when you're in the sameness of nature, in the eternal place of completeness, in the quantum dimension, then you can live in the emotional contradiction and opposition that is simply wired to make you look at what you repressed that you couldn't look at, and is whittling away at the walls long enough to show your emotional belief that you can't manage the pain, and therefore your emotional belief relinquishes its right, and all of a sudden what? You're able to, wow, this memory popped up. Just feels like today, and now boom, I'm in there and I'm dealing with it, you see? So it's valid. Your emotions are valid. Your humanity is valid. But in the infinite, in eternity, in invisibility, there is no expression. There is no journey. There is the end from the beginning, at least with this timeline human experience that's being depicted as being built there and completed there, and us kind of living out the instant replay or rerun or echo of that which has always been, from a glorified state to a dualistic state. It's the dualistic state that actually brings the deeper expression than the eternal state. And yet we want to try to escape our humanity to get into eternity. No, we need to be settled from eternity, gazing into a timeline, and we need to realize it's an illusion at the level of my identity, the visible, physical, emotional timeline experience. But in the expression, it is expanding um, the ability to express divinity. So if the invisible can't smile because you can't see a smile, it is the visible that is the fullness of the Godhead in bodily form. And that's not just talking about Jesus. It's saying in him is the fullness of the Godhead. And who's in him? All of us. And so it's talking about all humanity as one, that was manifested in Jesus, that is manifested as the Christ in and through one another. Okay, that becomes kind of the model, the example, the glimpse, right? Okay. Hopefully, I'm not talking too fast, and if I am, just there might be a way to download this and slow it down, right? Hey, Tracy, Charlotte, bless you guys. I love seeing you guys on here, and so now we go from the emotional, dealing with the emotional, and you do know that about at least 50% of your depression is emotional. It's perception based, and I'd have to add that a lot of sickness and diseases are formed through the emotional belief. Okay, neuroscience, quantum, at least the quantum side of neuroscience believes that you are manifesting as matter based on your mind's interpretation of your environment that is communicating to your subatomic particles and cells to stop acting like strings of light and start to manifest as form. Now, I totally agree with that, and and so I believe that. But what about the body? Because I got diagnosed, I never finished my story. I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's in 2020. And I ended up walking through several processes where I reversed it through eating right. Then it came back because there was stress emotionally. And Charlotte, I slow you down on YouTube and Podbean. Hey, good for you. You're going to have to tell everybody how to slow it down. Once I get going, I got to get it out before I lose my train of thought. Sorry about that. I healed myself through eating right, and then I started having stress emotionally from financial situations and circumstances. Immediately was right back bedridden, going through all this pain, and then got a revelation of loving myself. And the revelation was, don't eat to be healthy, eat healthy as a byproduct of loving yourself. And so there was a mind shift that I needed to love myself by what I was eating. And so I did get a level of that. And after I was manifesting wholeness and even went back to eating regular food with no consequences in my immune system, no attacks or biological triggers. And that was in April of this year. Um, you know, I even started getting memories that were where my mom would hit me in the head with a 2x4 if I if I threw up my food, and then I would have to eat my. I'm sorry to be graphic, but I'd have to eat the food I just threw up again and again and again because she was a terrible cook and it was nasty. And so I'd have to sit there and try to swallow this nasty food, choking it down. And I'd be force fed. And sometimes they'd hold my mouth open and force food down my throat. Okay. And so I went through that as a child. Wasn't even aware of it as an adult, had no idea that when my dad would eat, he would get steak and eggs and all the good stuff, and we'd eat porridge and lentils and nasty canned peas and just leftovers. We're talking food closet stuff, okay? And I'm nothing against my mom and my dad. They grew up dysfunctional. They passed it on. We all understand that. And so they're both transitioned. But I remember my childhood watching as my dad got the good food, we got the bad food. And even though he got the good food, I remember one time, and I don't know, my family, they kind of adopted every religion. And so there's this big Buddha statue in the corner. Nobody worshiped it or anything. It was just there as decoration. And I remember my mom came in with some steak for my dad. I was about 4 years old, and there was a hair on the steak. One of my mom's hairs got on the steak. Well, he didn't just say, "Hey, you got a hair on my steak." The plate went flying across the room. We all ducked as glass flew everywhere. The big Buddha went flying at us. And then we watched as my dad beat my mom, and she ended up being hospitalized from that beating. My dad was a drunk. There was a lot of times, and years later, there was reconciliation with me and my dad. So it all ended well. It was all good. But these were some things that, a child from the age of, I remember back from 2 to about 4.5, 5, before my mom finally got out of that relationship. So this was a regular occurrence. And I remember the only time, thank you, Shauna, I love you. And the only time that I ever got a treat, it would be dessert, right? I'd get those Nutter Butter cookies. All right. And I remember I'd get my Nutter Butter cookie, and one of my siblings, all my siblings were older. I was the youngest, and they're started at a 7-year gap, 8-year gap, 9-year gap. So when I'm young, they're playing together. I'm kind of off by myself. I'm not included. I don't belong. All of these things are happening. And there's my Nutter Butter, and here comes one of my siblings running with it and taking it and taunting me. And sometimes they'd eat it in front of me and spit it out and say, "Here you go." And of course, I wouldn't eat it. Or they would just finally give it to me after taunting me, making me kiss their feet or do something that looked like a fool that they could mock me. Okay. So that right there, not knowing that as a kid, I was an angry boy. They would tell me later on, I remember this, I would literally chase them and I would grab hold of their butt with my teeth. I would literally bite them in the butt, and I would hang on like a pit bull where I'm swinging off their butt and they're running. Okay. Kind of a funny picture when you think of it now. But they used to say, "Oh, Brian, you were like a little demon," you know, and so with that, that was abuse. That was abusive. So as an adult, when I'd get a box of Oreos, I couldn't eat one. Now I just thought, well, I just like Oreos. And I'm young and I'll burn it off of me and I got time. And well, I'd eat that whole box. I couldn't eat one. And and so it was like, what's going on here? And it wasn't until the Hashimoto's hit and I actually started to get clarity. And this is after, almost 2 years of suffering and trying to travel and do ministry and having brain fog and feeling like my organs are like rocks and my shoulders are being pulled out of socket. Okay. I had, if anybody on here knows what an autoimmune disease is, there's a lot worse ones than what I'm dealing with. But I'll tell you what, when you go from never experiencing really any physical anything to all of a sudden, you're right there at the prime of releasing all that you're carrying and you're finally entered the vision and prophecy is being fulfilled. And now you get to sit back and watch it pass you by. That's what it felt like, right? Good to see you, Hope and Steve. Glad to see you guys here. And so, all of these memories started to pop up, and the Father began to go in there and reconcile and show me his heart for me, show me their brokenness and why they did it, and all of these different things. And Hope, you know what I'm talking about. You have 6 autoimmune disorders, and some of it is emotional, and some of it is perspective. But I'm going to tell you something. I thought everything was the mind. And obviously, even though I ate right, I didn't get it because I went back and I, started eating wrong again. So in April, I'm whole. The next month, I'm eating healthy, but I'm starting to eat regular foods I'm not supposed to, like tomatoes, nightshade, bread, and I'm having no problems. But then I'm like, you know what? Let me try a Coke, I don't even like Coke. And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, this Coke tastes better than that Dr. Pepper used to take. Never went back to Dr. Pepper. Now it's Coke. Well, one every couple of days, not a big deal. And then, next thing you know, it's a Snickers bar. Next thing you know, it's fudge. And then, hey, there's this company, I want to, they might not have this fudge later. So let me go ahead and get 3 packets, because we can freeze it. Oh, you know what? It doesn't really taste good cold. Let me just go ahead and eat it all. Okay, so you see how one thing leads to another. And then in the last month, I begin to experience pain again. And I'm like, uh-oh, well, I ain't going to say nothing. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I wasn't going to say anything. I'm just going to endure it because I went on and I told everybody how healed I was. And I'm trying to bring them a truth. I don't want to discourage them and I don't want to look like a fool. So when I started to realize that's where my mind was going, I did a post and I told on myself because I'm not going to put myself in a position to betray my own integrity and be a liar to myself or to anybody else. So I'm going to always tell on myself when I catch myself manipulating myself. Okay. And again, am I going to go extreme? No, I'm not. I'm not going to let go of the eternal. I'm going to keep speaking it, but I'm going to add something. There is a season for everything under the heavens. And the heavens aren't up there and us down here. The heaven means spirit. There is a season for everything where we are gazing in to a lower frequency life known as a visible human experience that is only lower frequency at the level of our perception of it, not at the level of what it actually is bringing to the table in expressing that which invisibility couldn't. My visibility allows for the exceeding greatness of his power toward us who believe. That is God exceeding himself through visibility. That is God expressing dimensions of himself. Goodness, faithfulness, grace, mercy, unconditional love. These are attributes that are seen in the visible human experience, not as spirit or as oneness in invisibility. In invisibility, pure love, yes. Pure love is definitely there. Unconditional love can't be there because there's no conditions in that realm. So you would never be able to see the expression or know unconditional love except with the backdrop of conditions. Light and darkness is what allows for the right shadows to create expression. Okay. And so I want you to kind of see this. All right. And so a lot of our duality is for the point of creating backdrops and forefronts, light and darkness to bring forth expression. 2 Corinthians 4. Let me see if I can grab my Bible here for just a second. I got to give you at least one scripture, right? Okay. So in 2 Corinthians 4, turn right to it. It says, if our gospel is lost, if our gospel is hid, verse 3, it is hid to them that are lost. That word lost means mistaken identity. It's connected to the word timidity and mistaken identity. So you're not actually lost, you're asleep, right? You've entered into the American dream. You know, you got to be asleep to enjoy it, right? You know, when you wake up, you realize it was a nightmare, right? Anyway, so the point is, if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are living in a mistaken identity, in whom the God of this world, which is your own ego, and your own ego is based on a conclusion that is outside of the truth of who you are. Absolutes fall into that category, okay? In whom the ego of your mind, in a conclusion of absolutism that's also running from its own denial, has blinded your mind so that you cannot enter into what true faith is, which is the reality of spiritual intention in every level of consciousness, every area of body, soul, and spirit. Lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. Now you go down to verse 6. For God, who commanded the light to shine out of darkness, has shined in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. So God is not shining light out of darkness because darkness is a threat to light. He's shining light out of darkness because darkness is the backdrop for light to carry the expression known as a face of Jesus Christ, which is Jesus the man and Christ the body. Okay. And so we got to understand that there is nothing wrong with duality. The only thing that duality does, or shall we say that we go extreme in, is when we go in absolutes, where duality is our reality that defines our identity. That's what happened in the Garden of Eden. They became aware of themselves. They hid. What did they really become aware of? They became aware not just of their bodies. They became aware of the physical realm as the proof of their reality, as well as the proof of their spirituality, and the measuring rod to whether or not they've measured up in their uh, spirituality. Okay, this is why a lot of people are looking for signs outwardly. You know, if they get $100, I'm blessed. If they don't have $100, I'm not blessed. Completeness is from within you. We eventually, as we get older, we realize that all the cool things we bought and all the successful things we did in our life and all the goals we met were fun until we met them, and then we realized we weren't satisfied. We realized that, you know what, it really didn't matter if I got that $1,000 phone or that $50 phone. It really doesn't matter if I'm wearing, you know, clothes from Macy's or clothes from Walmart, except for the fact that Walmart clothes, the moment you wash them, they're throwaway clothes. And so that might be a reason to get better clothes. But the point is it doesn't matter what you can obtain. Anytime we always have to get, it's because we don't realize that we're complete. And that's connected to duality becoming our identity, or entanglement with the cares of this life. And so because we felt duped by our entanglement, the moment we start to wake up into the eternal, we want to throw out duality altogether. We want to throw out the physical, we want to throw out the mind, and we want to just say all of that is an illusion. Now, ultimately, when it comes to who you are, it is an illusion. It doesn't add one thing to the core of the nature of God in divinity, as one, in him and as him, at whatever level is being unveiled. Okay. But we also said yes to a timeline human experience to expand, to exceed that which invisibility could not express without contradictions, without opposites, without shadows, to bring light, without expression. So enjoy your humanity and don't separate your humanity from your spirituality. Your humanity is spiritual. Your humanity carries the expression of spirituality. Does that make sense? So we definitely need to walk as humans and have some common sense while we know from whence we came, where we are, and that we're gazing into it, okay? So we don't need to take personally words that are spoken against us unless we've already taken it personally at an experiential level. So we go into the eternal and we realize completeness. That is the place where we're seated in this life. But then we have the contradiction of, but I'm triggered and my mind believes that I'm not good enough, even though I know I'm complete. All right? So that's not an illusion, even though it is. It's an illusion from the truth of spirituality, but it's not an illusion to what your humanity is believing. So guess what you do? You embrace that pain. You do the work. You go back in your past. You deal with the trigger. On a physical level, if I put junk into my body, guess what's going to happen to my body? It's going to fall apart. Now, here's where we get into the fun stuff. Immortality. Too many people think that transitioning from this life, in other words, releasing yourself from this body, some people call that death. No, death is the wrong concept of transition, okay? Death is really the carnal mind perceiving somebody moving on, okay? But ultimately, you have a mortal body and you were never meant to convince this mortal body to be immortal. All right. Yes, you are spirit slowed down to visibility at one level, but slowed down to visibility is also you gazing into something, but also everything is in you and you are in everything. So it's kind of crazy how it's kind of mixed together like that. But what you have to understand is that there are situations happening that are real to your humanity, and you denying them to claim an opposite absolute is revealing a problem in the way in which you perceive you and your situation and your reality. So we want to definitely balance it. Again, whatever we've despised and painful, and we finally find a way out, we're going to go absolute in the way out, and we're going to say that's not real. And then we're going to fight about it, debate about it, try to prove it. And guess what's going to happen? It's going to work for a while, and then it's not going to work. And then you're going to have a hard time with the next thing that is revealed because you don't want to believe it, because the last thing you believe, now you feel like a fool, you look like a fool, whatever. Now, I don't feel like a fool now because I've spent some time in this, and I've realized that my experiment that I was doing, and I was subliminally doing an experiment when I went back to eating food. I just overdid it with the junk. Wasn't trying to kill myself. I wanted to see if it was all in my mind. And the reason why is because, and I'm not boasting about this, but a lot of people would agree with me because this is what I've heard from a lot of people. They'll say, Brian, you are in the very small percentile when it comes to the depth of what you carry, what you've journeyed through, and the fruit in your life when it comes to peace, unity, love, oneness in my marriage, maintenance-free Christianity. I don't even like that term Christianity anymore, but you see what I'm saying. Non-religious Christianity, if I can put it that way. Renewal of the mind. I am constantly going into inward and looking at perceptions and dealing with that. I do that for people all over, and there's a lot of good fruit. So if you're going to pick somebody to do an experiment as to how far do we go with everything being in your mind only from the quantum, I'm the guy to do it. Okay? Because I'm not sitting here half-cocked, half-renewed, claiming something and trying to convince you of it and giving you a partial evidence because I've been doing it for 2 weeks and it's been working, or even 2 months, or even 2 years. Okay? I've been doing this thing for a long time, and I don't mean just the physical thing, but in the sense of with the Hashimoto's, it's only been a couple of years, but all the other areas of emotions. It's been over 2 decades and on myself and on others. And so I would kind of feel that I think I can operate as a veteran in this area just a little bit. So this has been a testing out. I did something similar with Life and Death and the Power of the Tongue. I did this way back in the day, where you remember those times? Don't speak life, don't speak death. If you speak death, it happens. If you speak life, it happens, right? I did that, and that did not do anything neither. So I did a test because I used to constantly speak life, and terrible things were happening, no matter how much life I spoke. So I said, let me see what happens if I speak death. So I started speaking terrible things, and you know what? Some good things happened, but nothing really changed. It wasn't like life and death is in the power of the tongue like we thought. It wasn't this verbal thing, this mechanical thing. What it was it came down to what I expected to believe. So you can speak life, but at a subconscious level, if you already believe it's not going to happen, you're not going to experience it. So it's at an intentional level that's carried by a sound. But your sound, you can talk till you're blue in the face and speak positively all you want. It's only going to affect your cognitive thinking. It's not going to go deep, and change the heart of what you truly believe is reality. So we have to deal with that side so that what we speak is coming from the sound of our reality, not from a claiming to get out of one and into another, if that makes any sense. And so it's pretty interesting, pretty interesting. And so I did this test with this when I started out. I said, well, we're going to find out when I start eating this food if there is an accountability level in the physical realm here where I am to steward that at a specific level with the eternal, or am I to just throw out the physical, eat whatever I want, and not believe there's any consequences, because really the physical realm is an illusion. It's all coming from a mindset, and everything is memory and perception based, all sickness and disease. And so let's test this out. And so I did, and I went overboard. And guess what, man? I started manifesting worse Hashimoto's than I did when I first got it. Started hitting my brain. I couldn't think. I was losing hours, time displacement. I was getting paranoid. And I was feeling sharp pains and lightnings in certain parts of my physical head. And as I began to research it, that's exactly what happens. It starts attacking your brain. So then I reached out to everybody and I let you know what was going on, and asked you for your prayers. And thank you very much. I'm feeling better. I have changed my diet. And so far in 24 hours, I feel 50% better. I also got a chance to hang out with a dear woman who I'm going to recommend. And when we get back from vacation, my wife's birthday, we're going to Florida to hang out with family for the next 10 days. I will try to come on here and still do videos if I can. Okay. In between. Uh, but I lost my train of thought. So basically, when it came down to it, changing my food threw me right back in, no matter how much my mind believed that I am complete, I am whole. It's just a mindset, and that's been the life I've been living. That's what I've been exercising. I've been seeing tremendous fruit. So what do we do with this? Is your physical reality an illusion? At an ultimate identity level, it is, as spirit. But spirit decided it wanted to express its identity as human beings. And so we are to steward the natural. And if I am neglecting my body, what I am really in is I am in denial, and there is a hatred towards a part of me that is here to express spiritual reality as a person. And I totally believe now that there is a part of us, and we've proven, this is actually proven scientifically, that remember I said 50% of depression is emotionally based. And probably out of that, there's DNA, there's frequency, there's generational memory, and all of that as well. And you can go deeper and deeper into subatomic areas. into the nervous system, all of that. And I got a chance to hang out with this lady, Sonia Brownless, which if you don't have her, add her on Facebook, Sonia Brownless. And she's amazing. When you hear her voice, it's just soothing. She has that atmosphere. And she took me on a cosmic adventure into before form to begin to deal with some foundations that was in my generational history that is in the sound of my blood that was adopted. That also is connected to the neurological and to the biological. And I definitely felt a shift in that. My mind began to come back into alignment, into clarity, and I was given a second wind to jump back in as inspired into the changing of my eating habits. Okay, and so I have realized now that there is a stewarding at all levels. Okay, to love myself physically is to take care of the temple. It's to eat right. It's to love right with relationally with other people. It's to eat right. It's to exercise. It's those areas. It's brushing my teeth. It's taking a shower. It's dressing appropriately. It's maintaining, being aware of my body. That is not unspiritual. In fact, it is just the opposite. It's probably one of the most spiritual things you could do. I'm quoting Pastor Phil, a dear friend of mine in Alabama. One of the most spiritual things you can do is take care of the temple. And so the temple is your body, as well as your spirit, as well as your mind. Those are the three realms. If you want to look at it from a scriptural standpoint of outer court, holy place, and holy of holies, it's there, okay? You want to take care of your body. Now, if you get caught up where you believe God for a miracle and it didn't happen, now you're upset and now you can't believe in miracles, so now it's only about the body. You see how we go to absolutes? Or, you know what, I've tried every plan known to man. I got ripped off. I bought all these vitamins and they didn't do anything and it was fake advertising and I ain't getting ripped off. This is all baloney and America's trying to sell me a lie. And there are some out there, believe me, you got to be careful of the scams. But we go again, absolute. It's all quantum and eternal. Everything is an illusion. So I want you to understand that when you say everything is an illusion, here's how you know if you're balanced. I can say it and it's balanced right now. Everything in my natural realm is an illusion. Now, what does that feel like to say that? What's my emotional response? Am I running and using that as an excuse? Am I saying everything's an illusion because there's something I don't want to face? Or am I saying it's an illusion because I don't mind if I'm ever taken out of it? Here was the key for me. One big key for all of you guys dealing with anything you want out of. Come to the place where you don't need to get out of it. Now, it ain't going to happen overnight, because what's going to happen is the first time you sit down and confess that and try to convince yourself, all right, Father, I don't want to get out of this. I could stay in this forever. I'm good. In about 3 days, you're going to be pissed off that you didn't get out of it because you thought if you said it and meant it, that means you'd get out of it, which is you doing what? Manipulating yourself, deceiving yourself. Okay. So you're going to have what appears to be delay in some things just because there's a part of you trying to trick yourself to believe you're patient when you think if you're patient, you'll get rewarded by getting out of it. Right? So kind of be aware of the internal dialogue of what's going on in your life and where are you manipulating yourself. With me, I manipulated myself with chocolate. Well, I just like chocolate. I just like how it tastes. You know what? I'm an eternal being. It's not what goes into a man that defiles him. It's what comes out of his heart. Food for the body and body for the food. Both shall be destroyed, right? What does it say in the scripture? Eat, drink, and be merry, right? And the kingdom is not in eating and drinking, but righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Ghost. So, I can eat anything I want. I can eat any deadly thing and it shall not hurt me. Right? Well, I guess if somebody poisons you and it's not your time, yes, there will be a miracle there. But I believe in miracles, and I believe miracles are not limited to Name it, claim it, blab it, grab it. Spiritual vision, eternal sound. I think miracles are you being able to get up, love yourself, and demonstrate it in practical ways. Common sense is a miracle, especially among Christians. Let's just be honest, guys. To most people that aren't Christian, that haven't been indoctrinated, Christians are scary. They are. It's like, okay, so you believe in an invisible guy in the sky, and this guy says you better do this or you're going to hell, but he loves you. Two naked people having a conversation with a talking snake. God put the tree there, tempted him with him, told him not to eat it. We're all doomed. You see how these kinds of things, and then, God loves everybody, but because you're not of God, you're going to hell. Therefore, I don't have to love you. So all these contradictions, all of these, hypocrisies, So, we got to get to the place where we're balancing this without trying to balance it out of a fear of being out of balance, and therefore give up and go extreme back into absolutes. And so to balance this is to check your emotional thermostat, your mindset response when you're in a delay of something you just said you're good in. And all of a sudden God changes his mind. Or all of a sudden he said that's enough now. And you start trying to escape. Be aware that right now the quantum and the eternal is the escapism. So use it not to escape your humanity. Use it to face your humanity. Use it to rest in your humanity. Use it to build your humanity, to expand your humanity, to express your humanity. And so that's really what I want to talk about. So whether it's eating right, I encourage you, eat right. You have chemicals in your brain that are enabling your spirit man to consciously interact in this body and in this mind. And if you do not take care of the chemicals in your mind through the right chemicals balances through food and through nutritional supplements, guess what's going to happen? That's going to be out of whack. That's 50% of your depression is based on your diet. 50%. That's why I tell people when they're dealing with depression and we do sessions together, emotional sessions, I will tell them you need to change your diet. If they're eating a bunch of junk or being inconsistent, you need to change your diet. And once you do that, your mind can comprehend where it needs to focus. You can feel the pain. You can get to deeper places. You can heal. Most of the time we're eating comfort food because we're an emotional mess anyway, okay? Or we just grew up in the habit of that. So ultimately, and I'll finish with this, when you're moving from all three of these places, you're going to eat healthy because you love yourself, because you want to keep this body flowing in its optimal state to be able to bring forth the whole reason you were sent for everyone else, for the people, for your family, for your life. In your emotions, you want to use the contradictions, face them, don't deny them. They might be illusions when it comes to ultimate spirit reality, but they're real to your emotional belief. And so respect yourself enough to face them that way, feel them, transmute the lies you've believed. Hang out with people that do frequency work. Deal with it in your body, your nervous system, in the memory of your DNA and the sound of your DNA. Okay. There's all kinds of ways. Now, don't go running out and trying all these things to escape what you're in. Settle what you're in. Settle within yourself what you're in. Don't try to escape. There's nothing to escape. There's simply something to unlock and something to journey through. I am at complete peace as I just had a total relapse in Hashimoto's. Was I pissed at first? Yeah, I was pissed. I was like, what the hell? I don't want to do this again. In fact, I told my wife I'd rather die young and with a full belly of what I like to eat than live old, choking down a bunch of food I have to sacrifice to eat. I said, how is that freedom? And then I got the epiphany. Okay, that was a self-justification, Brian. What was that really coming out of? Okay, it's coming out of a denial. I needed another absolute, I wanted to be extreme. So I catch myself and I say, okay, it's time to correct myself. I need to correct myself today. I need to correct myself publicly. If you're going to speak publicly about things that you believe is truth that people are going to listen to, you better correct yourself publicly. So that people don't put you on a pedestal. And I'm telling you, don't believe what I'm saying. Don't believe anything I'm talking about here. You go inward and you see if it's your truth. You see if it witnesses to you. And if you're in a place where you're eating terrible, but you're standing on the eternal and meditating and trying to think away the illusion of your pain, I want you to realize that dis-ease does begin at an identity level, but it doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily transmuted only by changing a thought. But ultimately, when you do change your thought, you do change an action, you do change a perspective, but the changing of it might be different. You might change a thought. Like for me, everybody wants to get the thought change that gives you the key to get out of the Hashimoto's and never have it again and eat whatever you want, right? But that's not how it works. How it works is, obviously, I was sent to be a revelation of health on more than one level. I've always been one focused on emotional belief and dealing with that. Spiritual health, I believe, is already there. I mean, your spirit's complete. You just need to become conscious of that completeness. So there really doesn't need to be any health. We just need to be taught how to look in. Um, but our body also we need to eat right. And so if my thoughts change toward myself and there's no absolutes and I'm not hiding from myself, then uh, uh, then what happens is I will eat healthy as a byproduct of loving myself, not eating healthy to try to escape a disease. Because if I try to escape a dis-ease, what am I doing? I'm staying in dis-ease. How can you escape something that's not real? And why do you need to get out of something that is not real if it is truly an illusion? So if it's an illusion, rest in it. Sit in it. And in the sitting where it no longer threatens you and you no longer need to move yourself from anywhere, and you start to go inward into that completeness, you start to get a strategy and you're like, hey, this is simply set here so that I can be a revelation of something to somebody to encourage them to trigger a new strategy, to trigger direction, to trigger new decision making in our lives that will better us. Okay. And so be encouraged, balance the whole thing out. You know what? Take care of your body, take care of your mind, and live from the place of a spirit gazing into a human experience, but don't go so quantum that you're in denial of your humanity that quantum designed to express what quantum could not express. And so these expressions are beautiful. Don't divide it up. Natural and spiritual is one and the same. It's just one is visibly expressed in an allegory or a parable, and the other is plain speech in spiritual as intention. And so all we're doing here is we're bringing intentions out as expressions, and we're adjusting and lining up accordingly. So I hope that this word tonight, hopefully I covered most of it. I don't know did I cover everything that I said I was going to cover on the. I know I wrote on this. I can't see it in front of me. Yeah, I think I did. I think I talked about this. I talked about everything, and we are constantly upgrading our perspectives on life. So, you know what? You're going to constantly be upgrading. So realize that what you believe today, you might believe something different tomorrow, and that's not it. Well, it can appear to be inconsistency. I guess it depends on what's motivating you to change your belief. But you'll add to what has been believed. You'll adjust, you'll fine tune, and you'll continue to expand. And I'll tell you right now where we're at, what I believe where we're at. When it comes to all this revelation, which is so deep and so good. I mean, there is more revelation on identity now and on ways in which to implement truth like never before. And I think it is awesome. And can I just say that's about 1% of reality, that with all this revelation. So we're only getting a very small amount, but we're already concluding that this is it. This is the truth. Hold it loosely. Your mind's about to be blown again. And some things that you even let go of that you thought were just child's play, this is milk, I'm on to the meat. You're going to go back to those things too, and you're going to bring those in and implement them. A lot of simplicity is about to come into our quantum deep mystery revelations, a lot of simplicity, a lot of application. And we really need to thin it down to love yourself. And loving yourself is not denying your humanity. It's not denying your emotion. It's not even denying your circumstance. It's using your eternally secure self that is gazing in as the place of rest, to not strive within it, but to get strategy and to bring forth expression and to journey it out with one another. So I hope this has blessed you. I appreciate you. I love you. And I will do my best. I will let you know if we'll be on Thursday morning. It is my wife's birthday, but I will see what I can do. Maybe she'll sleep in and I can jump on here and do a quick video. We are going to be in Florida hanging out in Legoland. I'm so excited for my wife and my kids. I don't really care if I go to Legoland, but I'm excited that we get to be together, and it's something that everybody's wanted to do. And so we get to go do that and hang out with some good friends, our dear friends, Kathy and Doug. And then we get to go hang out with another family after that. That's going to put us up in a really nice Airbnb rental that they own. And for another 4 days, we're going to hang out there and do some shift sessions and emotional work there as well. It's going to be wonderful. And so really excited, and really excited for what's going to be happening with all of us here on Facebook, all of our dear friends. You guys are amazing. You guys have always been an encouragement. Can I just say that when I did that post of what I was going through, and then I did the second one on anybody got any supplements they can recommend, I had so much love given to me. Everybody just loved me. You guys were there for me. You guys just came out and you took the time to do the work, to send me links, to send me videos, to say, hey, I want to help. You guys just blew me away. I was sitting there weeping with such gratitude for all the love from you guys. So I just want to say thank you. I start getting emotional now just thinking about it, of how loved I am by all my family and friends that are on Facebook, on YouTube, that we get to spend time with when we travel. You guys are off the hook amazing. And this is what keeps me going is you guys. You guys keep me going. And I'm not saying not just the pumping me up thing, just the fact that you're you. You being you makes me want to plow in, go deeper within me to walk whatever I have to walk through to get keys, because I want to bless you, because you are a blessing to me just by being you. Does that make sense? And so thank you so much. And we just love you. We appreciate you. And you guys have a great rest of your evening. And I will hopefully see you Thursday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Might try to come on a little bit early if I can, but I'll give you a heads up. And if I don't see you then, we'll see you next Monday night at 7 p.m. I love you all. And I will see you in the next connection. I'll see you in eternity. Bye-bye for now. Have a wonderful night.